Vail. This is vailychat.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, dio.
Oh, wow. Coming in hot today.
Okay, the chords are warm, which is good because today we are looking at a system where the warning lights are flashing so loudly. I mean, the noise is almost deafening.
It really is.
Imagine you are looking at the dashboard of a massively complex machine. Let's call it the global operating system. And all the warning indicators are flashing red at the exact same time.
Which is a terrifying scenario for any operator, by the way.
Right. As the operator, you have to figure out, which of these flashing lights indicates a catastrophic, massive engine block failure, and which one just means there's, a loose screw rattling around in the cup holder.
Exactly. You have to triage the panic.
So today, for you listening, we have a massive stack of sources from Saturday, April 25, 2026. We've got international wire reports, federal legal filings, regional operational analyses, police logs, and even local event calendars.
It's a huge variety of data.
It is, and our mission for this deep dive is to help you figure out which systems are fracturing, which are adapting, and how to actually tell the difference between the two.
And I think we should probably just jump right in.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We are jumping right in, and we have to start with the macro collisions, the big engine failure lights.
Yeah.
And right at the top of the international wires is the sudden collapse of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire talks.
Yeah, the diplomatic efforts taking place in Pakistan have completely stumbled. And the specific details from the wires indicate a very rapid physical breakdown of the process.
Right, like rooms literally emptying out.
Yes. Iran's top diplomat, Arachi, has abruptly departed Islamabad. Concurrently, President Trump has ordered U.S. envoys not to travel to the region.
And real quick, before we dig into the mechanics of that.
Oh, right, the disclaimer.
Yeah, I just want to explicitly state for everyone listening that because this stack of sources contains highly polarized political figures and situations, Trump, Arachi, all of this, we are absolutely not taking any sides here.
Exactly. We are simply conveying the factual events and the ideas as they're presented in the original source material.
Right, without endorsing any right-wing or left-wing viewpoints whatsoever, we are just looking at the mechanics of the event. And the data shows an immediate hard freeze in predictable diplomacy.
It does. The dialogue hasn't just paused. The rooms have been entirely emptied.
So what is the actual mechanism of that freeze? I mean, what happens when those envoys are actively grounded?
Well, when a top-level diplomat like Arachi leaves a host country abruptly and U.S. envoys are ordered to stand down, you instantly lose what we call the back channel.
The back channel. Okay, explain that a bit more.
So global markets, international supply chains, security apparatuses, they all price in a certain amount of safety based on the physical proximity of these diplomats.
Because they're literally near each other.
Right. When they are in a neutral location like Pakistan, they are just down the hall from one another. They can informally smooth over misunderstandings or de-escalate crises over a cup of coffee before anything ever hits a public podium.
Oh, wow. So when you ground the envoys, you aren't just canceling a formal meeting, you are dismantling the entire infrastructure of negotiation.
You transition instantly from a framework of negotiation to a posture of reactive defense.
Which is a huge shift.
It's massive. When that back channel is gone, you rely entirely on public, hardline posturing. That administrative friction doesn't just stall a peace treaty. It signals to global markets that the region is literally one misunderstanding away from an active conflict.
Because there is no one on the ground to just pick up the phone and clarify their intentions.
Exactly. The human element of diplomacy is gone.
Administrative friction. That is a crucial concept, I think, because that friction isn't just a phenomenon happening thousands of miles away in Islamabad.
Oh, definitely not.
We are seeing severe systemic strain domestically right at the top of the federal administration. The filings today include a major misconduct report regarding FBI Chief Kash Patel.
Yeah, this is another massive glaring warning light on the domestic dashboard.
According to the specific details in the reports we're looking at, Patel was arrested for public drinking and urination.
Which is obviously a massive headline.
Right. And the sources also detail that Patel has previously filed massive defamation lawsuits against media outlets for reporting on similar claims. And again, just to be entirely clear with you, the listener.
Yes, another quick impartiality reminder here.
We are merely reporting the existence of these allegations from the sources. We are not validating them, and we aren't taking a political stance on the individuals involved.
We're just examining how this impacts the system as a whole.
Exactly. So examining that system, what is the mechanism of failure here?
Well, it connects to that overarching theme of administrative instability. I mean, think about the sheer scale and operational mandate of the FBI.
It's huge.
Right. You were talking about thousands of field agents, massive cybersecurity infrastructure, complex counterterrorism operations. The chief executive of that apparatus is a cornerstone of national security.
So when the person at the very top of that pyramid is embroiled in bizarre public controversies.
It creates a logistical vacuum at the highest levels of governance.
A logistical vacuum, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, when a top federal official is making headlines for alleged public misconduct and concurrently locked in multi-million-dollar defamation battles with the press, the literal hours in the day meant for running federal law enforcement are being spent doing personal damage control.
Wow. It's systemic noise.
That's exactly what it is.
You have top-level legal counsel, scheduling aides, and crisis management teams pulled away from national security briefings, basically, just to handle public relations and civil litigation.
The machinery of the state gets jammed up with personal friction.
And the energy, time, and resources required to manage those crises are resources inherently not being spent on optimizing the agencies they're supposed to be running.
Exactly. It's a distraction that degrades the efficiency of the entire federal apparatus. And you can see how that trickles down.
Right, because this administrative gridlock isn't just a theoretical problem in Washington or Islamabad. It has immediate physical consequences.
It absolutely does.
Because when the federal level is distracted by all this systemic noise, states and local municipalities are essentially left to fend for themselves when real-world emergencies hit.
And the emergencies are hitting hard right now.
Yeah, the regional operational analyses out of Colorado today are genuinely terrifying.
The climate data we are analyzing here is completely unprecedented.
Regional officials have officially declared 2026 as having the worst snowpack year in Colorado's recorded history.
Let that sink in. The worst ever recorded.
Not just a below-average season, the absolute worst. Vail Mountain had to formally conclude its ski operations way back on April 8 with only a 30-inch final base.
Which is wild for Vail.
Right. And Beaver Creek ended their season with a dismal 19-inch final base. The only anomaly in the region is Copper Mountain.
Yeah, they're really trying to hold on.
They are. They're trying to buck the trend by staying open with a tactical extension through May 3, offering $49 lift tickets.
And to put that in perspective for anyone listening who isn't a mountain local, a 19-inch base in mid-spring is essentially bare ground in a lot of areas.
It's basically hiking at that point.
Right. And a $49 lift ticket at a premier resort, that is a desperate tactical play just to keep bodies on the mountain and businesses open.
But this isn't just a ruined ski trip or a bad quarter for the tourism board, right? I mean, the snowpack in the Rocky Mountains acts as a frozen reservoir for the entire American West.
Yes, that is the crucial point.
So a 19-inch base means the entire downstream water cycle is fundamentally broken.
That is the exact mechanism of the crisis, and it triggers massive cascading effects. A bad ski season is an economic hit, sure, but the lack of a slow spring melt is a catastrophic hydrological emergency.
Because it feeds everything else.
Exactly. Municipal water supplies, large-scale agriculture, fragile wildlife habitats, everything downstream depends on that frozen reservoir melting steadily through the summer months to keep the rivers flowing.
So when the snow isn't there to begin with,
the water simply does not exist.
Wow. Which explains why the Colorado River Water Conservation District Board just approved a series of emergency actions.
Right. The regional operating model has to shift entirely from management to pure triage.
They are actively trying to figure out how to allocate a resource that has historically vanished.
It's a nightmare scenario for local officials.
But this is where the local environmental reality aggressively collides with the federal administrative machine we talked about earlier.
Yes, this is where the macro and the micro just smash into each other.
Because we have a second lawsuit filed by Eagle County attorneys challenging federal rule changes. And according to the critics filing the suit, these new federal rules intentionally bypass environmental laws to fast-track the transport of oil-train fossil fuels right along the Colorado River.
It is a profound structural clash of priorities.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here, or at least try to map out the logic for our listeners. We have a historically dry, vulnerable river ecosystem. We just established it's a catastrophic hydrological emergency.
Right.
And at the exact same time, the federal government is allegedly trying to push heavy industrial oil trains right next to it.
That's what the lawsuit alleges, yeah.
It feels like the local government is using this lawsuit to literally throw themselves on the train tracks. Is local litigation a municipality's only defense mechanism when federal systems stop protecting them?
Well, when standard regulatory systems skew heavily in one direction, the courts become the primary shield for these local governments.
So it's their last resort.
Basically, from the federal perspective, there is a macro mandate to ensure energy independence and maintain robust, fast-moving supply chains, which requires moving fossil fuels efficiently.
Right. They're looking at the big picture of commerce.
Exactly. So bypassing certain environmental reviews is a legal mechanism they use to speed up that commerce. But from the local perspective, the Colorado River is their lifeblood, and it is currently at its most vulnerable, fragile state in recorded history.
Because a single derailment or a spill in a river that is already suffering a historic drought.
It wouldn't just be an environmental problem, it would be an unmitigated disaster for the entire regional economy.
The water supply would be hopelessly contaminated exactly when there is no fresh snowmelt to flush the system out.
Exactly. So when a local municipality feels that federal systems, which are supposed to balance national commerce with environmental protection, have heavily prioritized commerce at the expense of local safety, they weaponize the legal system.
It is the local infrastructure trying to force the federal machine to hit the brakes.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
So we have these massive, heavy macro crises, global diplomacy freezing up, federal agencies distracted by scandal, historic droughts, and high-stakes environmental lawsuits.
It can feel incredibly overwhelming. I mean, just listening to that list is exhausting.
It really is.
But if we look closer, moving from the macro level down to the hyperlocal logs in our source stack, a very different picture of adaptation emerges.
Oh, I like this pivot.
Yeah, because while the macro world feels completely out of their hands, these local municipalities are intensely focused on controlling their immediate physical environments, like down to the square inch.
Which brings us to the police logs. And honestly, this is one of the most revealing and quirky details in today's stack.
It's so oddly specific.
It really is. So following the successful removal of tractor trailers from the village core, Vail Police Chief Ryan Kenny is now aiming to completely ban garbage trucks from the village.
Ban them entirely.
Yes. The stated goal is to improve pedestrian safety.
It seems like a minor municipal traffic issue, just moving trucks around. But the underlying mechanics are fascinating.
I was trying to conceptualize this, and it feels like running an ultra-luxury hotel, but demanding that the housekeeping staff be totally invisible.
Yes, that's exactly the vibe.
You want the pristine, pedestrian-friendly streets, the beautiful European village feel, but how do you actually maintain that illusion without the massive, noisy industrial machines needed to haul away the tons of trash generated by tourists every single day?
And to push that hotel analogy even further, consider what happens when the hotel loses its main attraction.
Oh, right, the snow.
Exactly. Why is the police chief hyper-focused on garbage trucks while the entire region is facing a historic drought?
It does seem like a weird priority.
Well, because as these mountain towns lose their primary economic engine, the reliable, abundant snow we talked about earlier, the pristine village is the only amenity they have left to sell.
Oh, wow. They are replacing natural capital with manufactured perfection.
That is the adaptation mechanism at work. If the town cannot guarantee knee-deep powder on the mountain, they have to guarantee that a family walking over the cobblestones to buy a $6 cup of coffee isn't going to be dodging a massive, loud, odorous waste management vehicle.
That makes total sense. They are compensating for the macro failure of the climate by micromanaging the pedestrian environment to a state of absolute frictionless safety.
It's optimizing the one tiny sphere you can actually control, when everything outside the town limits is completely chaotic.
I love that. But that hyperlocal focus isn't just about economic optimization or aesthetic perfection. It also provides a critical psychological function, which I think is the perfect transition to the final piece of our source stack today.
Yes, a much-needed shift in perspective.
We looked at the local event calendars for McCoy, Colorado.
After all the geopolitical tension and environmental triage, this is a breath of fresh air.
Right. So today, kicking off at 9:30 a.m. at the Mountain Valley Horse Rescue in McCoy, is the Spring Fling for Help a Horse Day.
Help a Horse Day?
Yeah. I look at this detail amidst all the heavy news we've covered, and I see a psychological pressure valve.
Oh, absolutely.
When the macro systems like international peace talks or the downstream water cycle feel terrifyingly out of your control, going to McCoy at 9:30 a.m. to help a rescue horse is a highly localized system of care that you can control.
It's tangible, manageable compassion.
Exactly.
While the state government is tied up in federal court over oil trains, and top-level diplomats are emptying rooms in Pakistan, these neighbors in McCoy are proving that micro-community networks are still highly functional.
They're still showing up for each other.
Yes. Community gatherings like Help a Horse Day act as a critical counterweight to all that systemic strain we've been talking about.
It gives people a genuine sense of agency. You might not be able to fix the administrative gridlock in Washington, but you can definitively show up with your neighbors and improve the life of an animal.
It's a very real, very functional engine of community joy.
It grounds the narrative in human resilience, I think.
It does. It reminds the listener that not every system is failing. The foundational human-to-human systems of care continue to operate, often entirely disconnected from the macro-level chaos.
Okay, bringing it all together for you, the listener, we've unpacked a tremendously complex machine today.
We've really covered a lot of ground.
We did. Whether you are navigating the anxiety of a diplomatic freeze and grounded envoys facing down the physical reality of a historically terrible snowpack, or just trying to figure out how your local town plans to make garbage trucks invisible, you are living through an era of rapid, forceful, systemic adaptation.
The warning lights on the dashboard are blinding.
They are blinding, the engine is rattling, but the operators, especially at the local municipal level, are actively rewiring the controls in real time.
And that reality leaves us with a critical question to consider as we close this out.
Lay it on us.
Well, if our macro systems, global supply chains, international treaties, federal administration, and even our seasonal weather patterns, if they're becoming fundamentally unreliable,
Right.
will our local municipal governments and community networks ultimately hold more power over our day-to-day survival than the federal government?
Oh, wow. Now that is a massive thought to chew on.
It flips the whole hierarchy upside down.
It really does. The hyperlocal taking absolute precedence over the federal purely out of necessity.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for exploring this incredibly deep stack of sources with us today. If you enjoyed untangling the wires of today's complex machine with us, please make sure to like and follow the show.
We'd really appreciate it.
We will be right back here next time, ready to extract the next hidden layer from the daily news. Keep your eyes on